Aloha. Aloha. Aloha, my name is Roger Jelinek. I'm Executive Director of the Hawaii Book and Music Festival. And it's my pleasure to welcome the attendees to what should be a quite wonderful experience, an enjoyable one. And without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to John Watt, who's a very experienced director. And over to you, John.
All right. Thank you, Roger. Welcome to everybody who's joining. Hopefully we'll get everybody in relatively shortly. And we have several guests today on our little presentation. And hopefully we'll get the third actor in very shortly. Today's program is really kind of a celebration of the release of Lee Cataluna's new book. I have it here, Flowers of Hawaii and Other Plays. And this is Bamboo Ridge 121. It includes the texts of 4 of Lee's plays, Flowers of Hawaii, Aloha Attire, The Great Kauai Train Robbery, and Uncle's regularly scheduled garage party is canceled tonight. That last one is a kind of a long tongue twister. And as we go forward, I'll try to do a little introduction to the participants, and hopefully we can see their faces. The actors, I don't see Charles up yet, but we have today to read from some of the scenes. We have Charles and Zan Tim Tim, and also Matt Miller to give us a flavor of some of the language of the scenes. And hopefully you've had an opportunity to see some of these plays because these have all been done. Or hopefully you'll have a chance to see some of them in the future when they are done again. But it'd be wonderful if you could also get the book to read the text of the plays. To introduce myself, I'm an actor-director. I'm on the board of directors of Kumakua Theater. And I'm going to make a couple shameless plugs right now. One is, of course, get Lee's new book. But also, because I'm on the board of directors at Kumakua, I thought you might be interested in a couple of things that are happening in the spring. This is Kumu's 52nd season. And as such, we are doing Kumu's greatest hits. And I happen to be directing a play opening in March. It's our adaptation of Lois-Ann Yamanaka's Wild Meat and the Bully Burgers. So that's coming up in March. And then, for those of you who love the work of Lee Cataluna, in May, we're bringing back, of course, Folks You Meet in Longs. So hopefully you will sign up. I would say get your tickets now, because that one certainly will sell out. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Lee. Hello, Lee.
Hey. Hi, John.
I looked up at the screen and I saw everybody's name and nobody's face, and I went, "Where is everybody?"
Sorry.
And hopefully Zen will get Charles.
It's a last minute adjusting, John. It'll be okay.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
I feel very sort of comfortable. My good friend Keith Kashiwada, who is my co-adapter of literary work for the stage, likes to say, "If you wing it, it will fly." That's one of his favorite statements. So we'll see. Okay, so Lee, we welcome you, and could you tell us a little bit about where you are right now and what you are doing?
First of all, thanks for doing this for me, John. I really appreciate it. I'm in DC right now, And I think you can see the dome, the Capitol dome over there. I don't know. You can with my finger. You see it? You see it? Anyways, trust me, I'm in DC. In a very bland but lovely hotel room. And I'm tired, but I'm happy tired because I've been working a lot. So I have a play that's up here at Arena Stage, and I have a play that's up in New York at Atlantic Theater right now. And I have a reading for a new play tomorrow here in DC. And tonight we're doing this because it's like 10 o'clock where I'm at. So I might say weird things because I'm tired, but it can be fun that way.
That's very exciting. So you were in New York, and then, as I understand it, you took the train to Washington, D.C. for these few days.
I took the correct train.
Ah.
So I'm very proud. I'm not that much of a bumpkin.
Yeah. And then you're going back to New York, and then eventually
Tomorrow night.
And then come home after the weekend is over.
Yes, I will be that sleepy little pile of happy nothing. So yeah, it'll be good. It's all good. It's all good.
It's exciting, and it does say, frankly, something about your work, which I'm really excited to see, that you get exposure outside of our little corner of the Pacific. Very exciting.
Exposure isn't always a good thing, but I'm happy to be working. I'm very happy to be working in theater. So
yeah. Charles is in.
Yay!
Hello, Mr. Tintin. Very good. And I noticed from our chat from can you please provide links for ticket purchase for Kumukahua? It's KUMUKAHUA, kumukahua.org. Just go to their website, and they have information about ticket purchases there. Okay.
Oh wait, we're doing plugs. I want to plug
Yes.
something. Yeah. This is a free performance. So the piece that I worked on here for Arena Stage, it's called My Body, No Choice. It's political. It's a response to Roe v. Wade. And it opened last night, and it is being performed at 24 theaters and universities across the country, including UH Manoa, tomorrow, 3 p.m. at the Art Auditorium, and it is free. And is directed by Lorena Donalds O'Malley and Sammy Chin.
Awesome.
Sammy Toy, sorry. So that's tomorrow at 3 o'clock, and it's free. And it's pretty powerful. I just wrote one part. There's like 8 female playwrights, and most of them are people that you've heard of. And then like my name is sort of attached. But yeah, it's a cool piece. It's inspiring.
So that one is free and at UH, the Art Auditorium.
Yep, tomorrow.
So
Saturday, 3 p.m.
Okay, very good. All right. Onward. Oh yay. Very good. Someone put up the purchase tickets.
Yeah.
For those of you who are joining us who have never worked on a play, one of the things that happens immediately is actors get together and do usually what's called a table read. We sit down and read the script, and we get to hear the words and hear the words of the play all together. And sometimes actors will get the scripts in advance. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll show up and you'll get your script on the first day and we'll sit down and read it. For those of you who are Game of Thrones fans, there's this really cool YouTube video of watching the actors of that show at the table read for the end of the series. And it's interesting because they haven't had the script, and you can see Kit Harington when he gets to the point where we know what happens to Daenerys, and you can see he's just surprised and shocked and overcome. It's really quite exciting. And sometimes that happens in a first read. But today, I'm sure the actors have had a chance to actually look at these scripts, and actually they've had some time actually to play some of these parts. So this is kind of exciting. So without further ado, we'd like to start with Coach Billy from Aloha Attire. Lee, you want to set up this one a little bit?
Coach Billy from Aloha Attire. Aloha Attire is a play that I wrote specifically for Zoom during the pandemic. I had a commission from Kumukuhua to write a play, and the commission stated that it had to be set in the 80s, or I agreed to write a play that was set in the 80s. We were kind of doing decades that season, or Kumu was doing decades that season. The play I wrote initially, I knew it wasn't going to work on Zoom. It was just not. So I wrote this play instead, Aloha Attire, and it's connected to Flowers of Hawai'i. And Coach Billy is one of the characters that appears in both plays. And so this kind of tells his backstory a bit more. And I kind of had I don't know, Coach Billy was sort of not a character that I understood very well. And then came Matthew Miller, who played Coach Billy. And I can't imagine anyone else ever playing this part. He originated the role and I think owns it. Just like he transforms. So thank you, Matthew, for doing this.
All right, Matthew.
Hi.
We will, let's see, we can, I forget how to do some of this stuff. Okay, there we go. All right, Matthew, you're up. Coach Billy.
All right, you jokers. I'm running the team meeting because Coach Stanley was called to the principal's office to discuss his future employment at the school. In a nutshell, overall, all things considered, this was a junk year. No two ways to go about saying it. It was junk. This whole team was junk. You were all individually junk in your own individual junk ways. Coach Stanley might not make it next year because your folks' parents have been bitching to the principal. But hey, I know, and you know, it wasn't his fault. You guys had the heart, but not so much the talent. No, cannot help. So maybe they'll make me head coach next year. If you sophomores and juniors are lucky, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. Meanwhile, we have some unfinished business this season, and that is the team banquet. Now, some of you may be thinking, how are we going to have one football banquet with nothing to celebrate? The answer is simple. It's what we always do. We lose all season. We spend money to rent the community center, invite your families, feed everybody, and make up awards, make it seem like we were better than we really were. Whatever. It's tradition. So this year is no different. Our football banquet will be in the community hall in 2 weeks. Gotta do it on a Tuesday night because all the Saturdays are booked for baby luau's and cheap weddings. Now, I'm gonna pass around these tickets. You each get 5. I don't care how you give them out, mommy, daddy, uncle, cousin, your cheek. But I need payment in full before the banquet is over or nobody gets dinner. Understand? I will be standing by the door behind the moms, checking everybody in. And if the paper says you did not pay for your tickets, I'm sending mommy, daddy, uncle, cousin, your chick, and you home. Okay. Maybe your chick can stay, depending on if she's foxy. Hey, some of the freshman girls this year are pretty foxy. Yeah. You will notice in the ticket, it specifies Aloha Attire. So what does Aloha Attire mean? It does not mean shorts and t-shirt. It does not mean jeans and rubber slippers. It means nice jeans and nice slippers. If you want to go a little more classy, jeans and mesh shoes. I want to see Aloha shirts, not surfer t-shirts, not 98 rock shirts, no Pakololo leaf design. You boys keep anything Pakololo in your car. Now, if your chick don't know what aloha attire means, tell her it means strapless top, mini skirt, high heels. If you can get her to wear one of them aloha print wrap shorts, let me know so I can share it in the enjoyment. If she ugly, tell her go for the full mu'u and spare us all. In terms of lace, aloha attire means your standard triple carnation. Double carnation will do if it's fluffy and you don't mind looking like you're cheap. Mile is good too, but don't do that thing with the roses and the baby's breath all twisted inside. That's for girls and proms. You are men. Well, you're kids, but pretend for one night that you're men. Now, any questions? Yes, Kavika. Yes, you gotta wear Bebedi's aloha attire is not the same as hang loose. Yes, there will be a Bebedi check. I will check your bebs myself. Stop asking stupid questions. Any more questions? Kavika, you better make sure that it doesn't one stupid question before you ask it. Okay, then put your damn hand down. So in terms of beer, you boys can have that in your coolers in the parking lot where us chaperones cannot see. What can we do? Most of the seniors are 18, so you're legal. But just don't make a big thing about it, right? And when I say come by to tell you to keep it down, you better say to me, yes, coach, and hand me the coldest one you got. Got it? And if you catch me in the dark by the baseball dugout with a chick, hey, leave me the hell alone, even if that's your sister. I'm only joking. No, I'm serious. It was a crappy season. So let's all have a good time.
Thank you. Let's see. Thank you, Matthew. That was awesome. Reminds me, well, I'm a coach too, so it reminds me of some of our coaches and some of the things perhaps that we look back on our coaching careers and go,
That's a different book, John.
Yes. And I think we can see why it's interesting as a director to see an actor take on a role and then have that actor really inform our understanding as directors and writers what that character is or who that character is. I've had that happen in my career as well, having actors take on roles and not being able to imagine anybody else doing it afterwards. I've had an experience once where I had an actor, I had talked up about these actors that I wanted to recruit and couldn't get to do the part. And the actor who was playing the part said to me one night, I'm kind of upset and offended that you keep talking about this other actor. And I said, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. But at the same time, at this point, I've seen you act this part and I can't imagine anybody else in the world ever doing it. So it's amazing how actors do their contribution to the roles that we envision or create for them. Okay, that was exciting. I have to say, I'm also very proud because Matthew Miller was one of my students at Mid-Pacific and in wonderful shows that we used to do there. Okay, onward. So for our second scene, let's see. We would like to have Zan read Zanita's story from Uncle's Garage Party. Uncle's regularly scheduled garage party is canceled tonight, which, by the way, was provided us with some interesting additional work at Kumukahua for, especially for our box office manager, who kept fielding calls going, is the show going on tonight? Is it canceled? We're going, no, the show is not canceled. The show is titled Uncle's regularly scheduled garage party is canceled tonight, but the show is on, so please come. But
I'd like to pretend that wasn't intentional on my part, but every once in a while, I just, yeah,
Yeah.
I did that kind of on purpose, but it,
Yeah.
it was part of the joke. It was part of the joke. I'm sorry to whoever had to take those phone calls. But it's part of the joke.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that play was super fun because it was basically trying to recreate the fun of being in a kumu play. And the fun of being in the kumu play goes on for hours after the final bow, because kumu has this magic where people stay and hang out, and you become a total family. I mean, I think in general theater feels that way, but it's even more intense and bonded at kumu. And I wanted to create that experience, that garage party experience on stage, and have it sort of blend into the after show party as well. But the idea was the party was canceled, but it's not canceled because the party goes on anyway, right? Yeah. And then I wrote this character named Zanita, who was named after a little girl who lived across my grandmother's house when I was little in Koloa, and who was very nice to me. And I always just kind of liked that name. And then Zan shows up at auditions, and I'm like, oh, destiny.
Yes.
Like, I get to work with Zan, Tim. This is amazing. So.
I was very honored to finally be able to work with you.
Okay, so without further, I have a few comments after, but without further ado, we'll have the Tim Tims read it. And have you guys read this together? Or
No.
are you winging it? Okay, that's cool. There are interjections by other characters that keeps Zanita's story kind of going. Let's see. So we'll have Charles actually can read most of the introductions. They're like 3 other different characters, but if you could just read them all, Charles, that would be wonderful.
Got it.
It kind of just cranks up Zanita to keep on going. And I really love this story, and I'll tell you why afterwards. Okay, let me get out of here, and there you go. Go for it.
Cubby, you have the first line.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, Cubby. Julene. Hey, Cubby.
That's Julene. I'm not Julene.
You are Julene. You're all the
Julene too.
characters.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
All right,
You're
here we
all
go.
of
You
them.
ready? Here we go. I get him. Hey, Cubby.
Why? What you did to piss off Auntie?
Mommy, what is it? It's not something personal. You shouldn't pry. Yeah, no pry.
I'm not prying. I straight up asking, what did you do?
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't really care. You're gonna tell me anyways. I didn't soak and stuff 10 pounds of calamari for nothing.
Oh, I love your mother stuffed squid. I know, yeah. She made it with pork hash. Oh man, too bad the party had to be unexpectedly canceled.
Why? What? Somebody sick? Who's sick? You sick? Ah, no worry.
Mommy,
I can help. I come from a long line of healers.
your father drove heavy equipment and your grandfather was a plumber.
Not that side. My mother's side of the family, Julene. When medical doctors say there's no hope, someone from my side family lineage has always stepped in with a miracle cure. I tell you one story.
Oh, sorry, you guys. I'm gonna put this down. Once she gets started, you know how she is.
Many years ago, my great-grandfather was called to the house of the plantation manager. They lived in the camp that time, so he got on his horse, rode up to the manager's house on the hill. The manager's wife had been in the yard picking plumeria, reaching up and picking the flowers right above her head.
That's not home.
Everybody know that's not how. No interrupt.
Not everybody know. The lady didn't know. Tell her, no interrupt. You only making a story longer.
So she was reaching for the plumeria, looking up, and of course, the sap went drip right down inside her eye. And the lady got blind. No could see nothing, both sides.
Oh, she can blind both eyes. If the sap only dripping in one eye. You told me no interrupt, and now you're interrupting. I'm not interrupting. I have a question, and I'm asking for clarification. I want to fully comprehend all the angles of Anita's fascinating story. You guys, let her finish the story so she can finish the story.
To answer your question, Cubby, it was a double drip. Either that or she went rubber eye and the poison sap got transferred.
Oh, must have been one big rub, eh?
So anyways, poor lady was blind both eyes. My great-grandfather was the only one who could help her. The only thing the doctor in town told her, too bad, so sad, we'll get you a dog. But when my doctors cannot, my family can. My great-grandfather goes there on his horse. He goes inside the manager's house.
The horse.
No, stupid, he left the horse outside.
That bugger to the tree or something. About a thing and run away and whack out on car.
Never mind, had car. Was my great-grandfather's time.
How back then? Lincoln Kenny's head. I had the Model T. I like that car. Oh my God, you guys, it's so bad.
So my great-grandfather parks his horse by the tree, ties him to the fence with rope, goes inside the manager's house. He sees the lady and she all upset, crying and crying. Her kids are screaming and her husband worrying and pacing. My great-grandfather looks deep into the lady's sightless eyes. He reaches into his black leather satchel and brings out a bottle of medicine that he made by himself using all kinds of herbs and plants that you have picked in the mountains. That medicine, I tell you, that thing could cure anything. Anything. He knew where her eyes were because anything. Drink them. Gargle them.
What about go?
Suck that toe. Pow.
You guys just go okay. Okay.
So he takes the cap off the bottle and the husband goes to get a cup because he figures my grandfather going make the wife drink them, right? Oh, but no. My great-grandfather tell the manager to close all the curtains and turn off all the lamps and make the room as dark as possible. So then my great-grandfather reaches in his bag and he takes out a piece of root, something like ginger root, but more orangey in color. He puts that in his mouth, starts chewing. Then he grabs the bottle of medicine, takes a big swig, holds it in his mouth, still chewing on the root, goes right up to the lady, and he stomps on her feet with his boot. Boom! The lady opened her eyes wide with shock, and he go fast and go. He spits all that stuff inside her eyes. So the plantation manager goes, what you think you're doing? And the lady, all sputtering, what? And all of a sudden she says, oh my God, it's a miracle I can see.
She could see if the room was dark. Yeah, how could your great-grandfather find her eyes in the dark so she could spit in them?
He knew where her eyes were because he was a gifted healer. And she could see because there was just enough light outside for her to see the stuff that was close.
What time of day was it?
Like I would say, dusk.
Well, there you go. Cannot be. If it was twilight, then I would say maybe plausible. But dusk and plumeria sap, both eyes. I don't believe.
I'm telling you, I saw it with my own eyes.
You wasn't there. Maybe the great-grandfather's magic medicine was so good it could make Zanita see stuff that happened before she was born.
No, I mean, I see my grandfather do the same thing to the dog when the thing got blinded by one toad. Was dusk, could see.
Well, of course our dog can see at dusk. The dog get good eyes. I thought cat get good eyes. Oh, dog too, I thought. Dog is nose, cat is eyes. Oh, which one is ears? Oh, elephant. No, that's memory. Oh, yeah, I forgot. The squid is, oh no, mommy, you did a good job on this batch.
And for what? The regularly scheduled garage party is canceled. Cannot enjoy.
Thank you. And thank you, Charles, for doing all of those voices. That was pretty awesome.
Thanks for throwing me under the bus.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. And I have to tell you that I have a little story about this. Oh, let me put my video on so you can see my face too. Start my video. Thank you. Yay, here we are. I have to tell you a little story. Well, two things. First of all is the moment Zanita says, that she's going to pick the plumeria above her head, before Delbert can say, "That's not how," everybody who is born and raised here is going, "That's not how." Don't do that. And so that's the first thing that came to my mind. And then I have my own personal story, which is I was talking to my nephew, and Lee has met my nephew. My nephew now is 31 years old. He's over 6 feet tall. He's Hapa, and he looks like he's from here. He dances hula. He speaks Hawaiian, but he's born and raised in Chicago. But when he was 6, he and his family came here, and he wanted to make a lei for grandma. So he went out in the yard, and he was speaking plumeria. And of course, I'm not sure which uncle told him or his dad told him, don't get the sap in your eye because it's going to make you blind. Huh? And it dropped on his face. And I don't know if it actually got in his eye, but recently I was talking to him about this particular story, and he said, I was traumatized as a 6-year-old because I thought I was going to be blind for the rest of my life. And so it has quite a different meaning for him now. And I thought that story was kind of fun to share. All right, onward.
Can I just say that that on my to-do list right now is to somehow write a show for Zan and Charles, and I got the name of the show. It's the Tim Show.
Oh,
Right?
that would be
Oh
awesome.
my goodness. Oh my goodness.
I'll work on it.
And then somehow you're gonna work in a story that you knew one kid across the street named Charles, yeah? And then you'll put him inside that show.
Wow, magic.
Okay. For our last scene that we're going to do today, it's Charles reading Delbert's story from Uncle's Garage Party. A regular, I don't want to do the whole title, but Uncle's Garage Party. And we'd like to take a moment to celebrate with this reading the life of Eddie Godoy, one of our favorite all-time people and all-time actors at Kunkuhua, who did many of Lee's plays. In fact, originated the role of Dalmea, and unfortunately passed this past year. So we'd like to dedicate this to the memory of Eddie, one of our favorite guys of all time. Okay, so this is the, I guess, the first real story in Uncle's Garage Party.
And I wrote this piece for Eddie.
Yeah.
I didn't know if he could do the play, but I was really hoping, and it just was Eddie in my head when I wrote it. I knew he could pull it off.
Yeah.
He's just just a fantastic actor and just a lovely human.
Mm-hmm.
The person you want to work with. So he's very much missed.
And I guess I could read Cubby, although Cubby really just makes I'll read Cubby. Charles, I'll read Cubby and Uncle for you. Okay.
Mahalo.
Yeah. So we'll start off with Uncle asking Delbert where he caught the fish that he has brought to the party. Where you at? East side? You're not gonna believe this story. Oh, that's you, yes.
You're not gonna believe this story. And you know the place I was telling you about?
Your secret place that everybody know.
Not over there. The other place. Kind of close to where I had a big sewage spill at one time, but not right over there. Yeah. So I go with everything, yeah. Poles, nets, still gun, full arsenal. The weather kind of funny, yeah. Like the clouds and the winds and whatnot. Hard to tell when you go and catch, but you know you can catch something. First thing, I set my crab nets, chicken leg, put inside. You know how. Then I set up my pole, cast them out. About to crack open a beverage. I think, hey, what the heck? I'm gonna check the net. Too soon, and I'm gonna get nothing. But I'm going to look anyway. So I pull the first one. Bruh, get like 10 in, son. The big ones, the black kind. That's the kind my grandpa used to like. Yeah, pull them out. I throw them in the bucket. Next net, pull about 15. I pull them out, throw them in the bucket. I look at the chicken leg. Must be one magic chicken leg or something. No claw marks or nibbles. Next net, jackpot! Like 50 grams in there. Crazy. Take them out. I put them in the bucket. Money close the bucket because you know what they say, right? You know, you go back to my pole. But then I see something moving. What? The crabs! They're all climbing out.
Ah.
Promise. Had one crab on the top. The bungo was reaching down and grabbing the claws of the smaller ones, pulling them up to the top, one by one. He was dropping them out of the bucket onto the sand and then reaching for the next one after the other. The crabs at the bottom, they was all helping each other, lifting each other up, working together. It's beautiful. I watched all those crabs escape. They was all heading back to the water together.
Ah.
Look, I took video on my phone. See, told you.
Can I see nothing? How are you going to take video of black crabs escaping in the dock?
You saw him climbing, right? You know you saw him climbing. Admit you saw what you saw. And when that big crab was pulling up his friends, dropping them outside the bucket, if you listen real hard, you can hear him say, "Be free, be free."
So after that, you caught this fish.
Oh, actually, I bought this from a guy in a truck on the side of the road.
Thank you, Charles. Awesome. All right.
It's for you, Eddie.
Eddie. All right. So I think at this point we have a little bit of time left in the session, and we so Lee and I or Lee can talk a little bit about her writing, or I can have a conversation with her. And
Let's have a conversation.
okay.
Otherwise, I'll just be random. I don't want to be random.
Yeah.
I still
So
random.
I would like to start with a little story, which is a few years ago, quite a few years now, I think it was a summer, and I was teaching a beginning acting class at Kumukuha Theater. And Victoria Newble was teaching a playwriting class. And Victoria came to me and she said, "John, I have some scenes that my students have written, and would it be okay? Do you think your students would like to, read these scenes?" And I said, "Oh, that would be awesome." Because like actors, even beginning actors, it's great to have new work and exciting stuff. And then for playwrights, it's cool to hear their words go into the mouth of actors. And so we Victoria gave me several scenes. I assigned them to the different students in the class, and we read them, and it was really a wonderful experience for, I think, both classes. And then Victoria says to me, you know, John, most of my students have written some fairly good scenes. I have this one woman, she's written a whole play. And I said, well, yeah, who's that? She said, well, you know that woman on TV. She's I guess a newscaster or whatever, but she wrote a whole play. And I said, what is that play? And it was The Mayor. And the rest, I think, is history.
You're being super kind a few years ago. That was like 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite a while ago. Yeah, I mean, that's the story I always tell, you know, that I always loved theater, but I knew I wasn't an actor, so I didn't know where my place was. And then I got a flyer from Kumukuhua in the mailbox saying that there was a summer class taught by Victoria and Alani Nubel. And so I signed up, but I was very afraid because I thought the class was going to be all like UH grad students who knew their Shakespeare and were scary. And it kind of was, except there were like Susan Stanton and Daniel Akiyama were in that class. So it was like Punahou sophomores who know their Shakespeare.
And are kind of
Along with
scary.
the UH, and are really scary. Along with the UH grad students, you know, but I loved it. You know, I loved it. I sort of discovered my place in theater a little bit older than the usual. I mean, I was in my mid-20s, I guess, maybe late 20s. No, mid-20s. And that was it. I was like, I want to learn everything I can about this. So, yeah, always grateful to Kumu and always grateful to Vicky Nubel, who is just an amazing teacher, amazing playwright, amazing human.
Yeah. I have to say that I've directed several of Victoria's plays, so I'm always quite excited to read her work as well.
Yeah.
I guess I would ask you maybe a couple questions that people who are interested in writing usually think about is like, what do you have a particular process when you write? Like some people I know have a way of writing that they always use, but I'm the kind of breadth and depth and variety of work that you do. I'm almost wondering, how is it that you get to those places, or is it just like something grabs you and you just go?
It's fear, John. It's fear. The fear that I won't finish it. You know, yeah. I mean, that's how I work. Like, it needs to get done. I'm going to get it done. However, it needs to get done. You know, if it needs to, you know, if I need to stay up all night, if I need to get up early in the morning, if I need to, you know, I don't know. I mean, I've written stuff while I've, you know, taken care of my son, you know, baby on one shoulder, writing with the other hand, all of that. I mean, he's 16 now, so he can take care of himself, but just get her done, you know, because I believe that a lousy first draft is better than the perfect draft that you have in your head that never gets on the page, right? Once it gets on the page, you can do something with it. You can get feedback, you can get dramaturgy, you can get help, you can get actors to read it to you and, you know, maybe give you good ideas that you can steal. But yeah, it's just the fear of not finishing it. Yeah, pretty much. That's my process.
Yeah. Well, I like that idea of fear as a motivator and process. As a director, there's quite a bit of that too. I used to tell my assistant directors, there's only one difference between experienced directors and beginning directors. And they said, what is that? And I said, well, there comes a point in your process of directing a play where you come to rehearsal and you realize that everything you have done up to that point is just ridiculous and people are going to laugh you off the stage and your career is done. And I said, the only difference between experienced director and a beginning director is the experienced director goes, well, tomorrow it might be better.
Yeah, it'll somehow gel overnight.
Yeah, you'll wake up and you go, oh, that's how I fixed that. I don't know. Yeah.
And if it's junk, they'll blame the playwright, so it's okay.
I have I have a question. You talk about finishing, but how is it that you start? I think that's an interesting question.
Different places. Sometimes I have an idea, like I was just joking, but I'm not really joking, but the Zan and Charles show, so that I've like there's this concept, like these two people are awesome together, obviously, but they're super entertaining, super talented. Like I would totally pay money to see the two of them with a two-hander show. And just, I have the title, the Tim Show. So that's a place to start.
You just gotta come our house and just sit down on the couch and watch.
I know. I'm just gonna take notes. I'm just gonna be fly on the wall, just take dictation, just like, oh, it's happening right in front of my eyes. Yeah, it starts at different places. Sometimes it's an assignment, like if it's a commission that has a specific assignment. Sometimes, wherever the idea is coming from, maybe I'll start with a list. Maybe I'll start like exploring characters. Maybe I just hear it. Like I can hear the play kind of starting in my, I can hear the characters talking. And so I just kind of write down what I know. But what I've learned over my many, many years is that, I'm not chiseling this stuff in stone, right? I'm just writing on paper, or I'm just typing into a Word document so I can change it until it works. And that's a really comforting thing, I think, as a writer. It doesn't have to be perfect the first time.
I've especially for beginning writers, I think that's always great advice. And I love the fact that you talk about, drafting and how many drafts these things go through. And then sometimes directors know this too. You'll see, especially with new work, we'll go into the theater, and a lot of times the playwrights will come and they'll sit there and they'll listen, and they'll go, oh, I'm going to rewrite that because I hear the actor saying it, and I something has come to me based on that. Darrell Lum used to do that a lot for us when I directed some of his plays. He would come in and he would take notes, and the actors would say, what is he doing? And Darrell would say, you say it better, so I'm writing what you said.
Yeah.
You made a mistake, but it's better than what I wrote.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
then
that's the exciting thing about theater, right? I mean, about new plays, that it's a living thing.
Yeah.
And that it's a collaborative thing. It's not just the playwright. It's not just the writer. It's, the director's vision. It's the actors coming in with their very deep understanding of each character. I mean, they become an advocate for each character in a way that the writer has written everybody, but suddenly each character has an advocate. And the design team too. I mean, it's this, right? Theater is all arts put into one project, which is lovely and exciting. So, yeah.
So that brings me to another kind of question about characters, because I always thought, I've done a little like short story writing, but it always struck me that playwriting was one of the most difficult things in the world to do, because you have to speak, each of those characters is speaking from a different person. And to me, it was like, I could speak out of my own head in a narrative line, but I had a hard time thinking about, how do I speak like this one or this other person and put them all together talking to each other. Do you have any comments about that?
I think just different drafts, reading a story through from one character's point of view, and then kind of going back over another time and really focusing on each character, sort of tracking them right all the way through. Readings are really good for that. Table readings with really skilled actors who are going to say, I don't think my character would say this, or ask the question like, my character said this way, but then is acting this way, and why? Those kind of challenging questions are super helpful. But that's a development part, right? Like writing the first draft is hard, but it's also kind of easy. Fixing the first draft is where the craft really comes in. And input, input from trusted dramaturgs and directors and actors and friends, super important.
As a director, I'm always happy to hear playwrights speak like that, because
I know better. I don't know at all.
I've had opportunities to see some playwrights who are not willing to work in that kind of collaborative way. They say the play is what I wrote, and do it the way
make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to hear other playwrights. Like I said, I've done a lot of work with Darrell Lum stuff, and he used to say to me, he said, I used to think the play was what I wrote, and then I went to the first, I guess one of his first productions was a play called My Home is Down the Street, and he went to the rehearsal, and the director said to the cast, well, don't worry about the stage directions, because we're going to do something completely different. And then we'll read through this. And then he said, what is he doing? And then he said, as I've worked more and more in my plays, I realize that the play is the collaboration of all the artists who contribute to it. And so it's a living thing. And it's a pleasure to work with playwrights who feel that way.
But not always, right? There's boundaries and limitations, and what the heck did you do to my play kind of stuff. That
exactly. Exactly.
Right? And so you try to work with professionals and people that you know and trust and love. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in the best of worlds, there's a mutual respect between all the parties about what is important. And I personally come from a tradition where the playwright's words are really important, and we won't want to, if we're changing anything, we'll be asking, what do you think about this?
Yeah, there should be that communication for sure. I mean, I've had experiences that I won't say here because it's being recorded, but but I've had experiences at a theater, not cool, not AQI, not anywhere. Yeah. Anyways, a theater that I will not name, but not one that you think of right off the top of your head. Where I went to opening night and went, what? Like, I didn't write this.
Yeah.
Not even an approximation, and my name is on it.
Yeah.
But live and learn, and it's a good story to tell. That's one of those like after hour kind of stories, like, and then this happened.
I'm looking now in the chat. Misty has put in the chat a little bit of quote from me from the book's introduction.
Oh.
Finally, theater is a collaborative art. Many artists contribute to giving it life. A play is much more than words on a page. Lee Cataluna's words provide an opportunity for those artists to help make the plays. And one of the fundamental essential elements of theater should not be overlooked. That is the participation of the audience.
Yeah.
While these plays have a universal appeal, it is obvious that the primary audience for them is us, the people of Hawaii. And Lee Cataluna's plays invite us, the audience, to step up our stories. Yeah, from especially Uncle's, where all the participants in Uncle's party, given the fact that it is canceled, have stepped up their stories, which is
John, you just read your own quote.
Yes, I know.
And it's so awesome because you're like, hey, this is pretty good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And thank you for writing the introduction to the book. And we've been talking about the play on stage, and then I feel like we should talk about the plays in a book, because that's
Yeah.
different, right? Like
Yeah.
it has a different purpose. And one purpose is people can access the plays without having to find my email, which is actually really easy to find, and going, "Hi, Lee, can you send me your play?" Which I always do anyway. But it's a handy form, readily available. But also, you know, you can. It sort of takes the plays into the classroom,
Mhm.
right? To be sort of dissected, discussed, critiqued, criticized. Read out loud, maybe used to inspire assignments, within the classroom. Yeah, I mean, I think about published plays that way.
Yeah, and as an English teacher, I think about published plays that way too. I think about, especially when you read a good play and there are sections of it, or even the whole play itself, that brings up really important ideas, not only about the function of art, but about the ideas that the plays are about too. And because I teach high school students, that was, well, they're still moldable. It's kind of exciting. There's a question in the chat. What does Lee feel is the biggest challenge for a playwriting or writing process?
For me, the biggest challenge is finding the time. Yeah. If I'm writing a piece that's pretty short, like 10 pages, or I don't know, a couple thousand words, then I can, block off some time in the afternoon. But if it's a longer piece that requires like a narrative, a through line all the way through, it's hard to stop and start. It's hard to start a story, and then, like be busy for 2 weeks and then go back to it and have that same pace. My friend's father, well, he is my friend, he was my friend's father, Robert Hamada, but who was just a world-class woodworker, who passed a few years ago. But his wood bowls are in like the Smithsonian, just in art museums across the country. But he talked about making this little band of this little design on this huge wooden bowl, where he would just, kind of nick the design into this, I don't know, like a band. And he said once he started, he couldn't stop, because if he stopped and came back later, things would be different. Maybe he had one good lunch and he's slower. Maybe it was a junk lunch and, something, he's tense or whatever it is. But once he got into the flow, in order to keep that pattern, it almost looked like a feather lay, in order to keep that pattern, he couldn't stop. And it kind of feels that way in a longer piece, but sometimes you have to stop, and when you go back to it, you gotta like get your head in it, the game. But yeah. Because life, yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, you gotta go food land, and you gotta pick up your kid, and you gotta, vacuum.
Yeah.
You get COVID, you down for
Yeah.
a couple days, whatever,
Yeah.
whatever.
Luckily for us directors, there's an opening night, so you have to stop then, and that's and you're gonna go, okay, it's done, whatever, it's done. Let's see. A couple of questions, and we'll close with these, I guess, from the chat. Please ask Lee, what's next for you? We talked a little bit about, you talked a little bit about what you're doing right at the moment. What's next for you, as far as you know, and then I don't know if we can answer this. How do you get to see what shows are produced on the mainland?
Oh, the what next question always makes me laugh, because it's like, dude, I have a play in New York. I have a play in DC. I'm working on a play in DC. I have an anthology that's being released today. It's kind of like walking into the hospital when a mom just had a baby. You're like, hey, you had a baby, good job. What's next?
Extra.
But I do have an answer. I have a commission from San Francisco Playhouse that I'm working on. That is a play that I really love. And that sort of continues. I have a commission from, where is it from? It's a national commission. Oh my gosh. To write, they're like 10 of us, I think, 10 playwrights writing indigenous superhero plays.
Oh,
So, and I'm working with Sean Joseph Chu on that. It's a musical and he is composing the music, and I kind of got started on that. So those are those two things. Kumukuhua is doing Folksy Meeting Longs in the spring.
May.
And
Yeah.
and I need to look at that script again, because I think I want to just kind of freshen it up and just see, just take a look, just maybe add some stuff. So there's that, to be directed by Alden Chan. Very excited to work with him.
Another one of my students.
Yay! So I think, that's plenty. I got plenty.
Yeah.
Other little things floating around, but those are the bigger ones.
All right.
Was it?
I think we're out of time.
Oh yeah. Okay. Good.
Well,
All right.
that was really fascinating and very entertaining. It's just a wonderful conversation, and the readings were spectacular. John, thank you very much, and thank the actors very much. And Lee, I hope you survive your birth. Look forward to seeing what you have next here in Hawaii. Again, thank you so much. Aloha.
Thank you. Aloha, everybody.